So what that does is bring your lease budget up to $337,000. However, of those of the vehicles that we're looking at replacing for you, you've got equity coming back of approximately $141,000. So if you think about it, you're not really spending $337,000 in year one. You're spending that less, the $141,000, in a conservative equity number that you'd be getting back from the replacement of those older vehicles. And so that drops your maintenance down to $98,000. It's going to drop your fuel budget down to about $235,000, which then brings your all-in fleet spend to $531,000. And so year one net cash back to the county is $12,273. And if we do this year over year for the next 10 years, you're looking at a 10-year savings of $711,000 with an average yearly sustainable savings of about $80,000. So I'll pause there and we can talk through questions.
Mr. Kissing, you and I were in last Thursday, that gentleman was from, you and I were sitting there, he was telling about what they were doing, pretty much every 2 years they were selling vehicles.
Yeah.
And
What county was he from? I know you're talking about, and they were doing the same thing. He said they had, in the last 2 years, they had turned over their entire fleet and they were gone to all, but I think they were under a lease program. But it was basically the same scenario. They'd gotten out of the maintenance, out of the cost, so that they didn't have any liability really in the vehicles. But he did talk about simple things that we don't really put as a value in these is the morale, the work productivity, that kind of stuff that he was talking about, how the guys were like, man, we've been driving 20-year-old vehicles that were, get in the morning and wonder if they're going to crank or not. And, if they didn't, you'd haul them to the mechanic shop to work on it, and they give you a bigger piece of junk to drive around for the rest of the day. So, he talked about things like that in that class. And so I like the theory behind this. I like I like that. Couple of questions on, so the 141,000, so is that saying that the 47 vehicles that we're buying, that's the value of those, that's the value you're estimating they are, which would be about $3,000 per vehicle?
Correct. So of the 47 replacements, the 47 vehicles that we sell on your behalf, we're estimating from a conservative number that you're going to get about $3,000 per vehicle. And that's very conservative, sight unseen, obviously. To be quite honest, you're probably today looking at getting more than that just because of where the used car market is. But I just want to go as conservative as I can.
So in year 4, when we get the last, looks like that'll be the last of that we already own to buy out. So that will be our highest year all in.
Correct.
And then it turns around because we don't have any vehicles that we're maintaining, and so they're all, okay.
Correct.
so day one, we need 47. Is that what I'm saying that? That what we need right day one, 47?
Correct. Based on the average age, time, and miles, we're looking at replacing 47 vehicles.
Probably not too far off either.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it.
So, yeah, and it falls along in the net column there of when we're all in by the 4th year. So would that be safe to say that it's really is a 5-year program to get right?
Correct. Yes. So we're looking at getting everything cycled out in 5 years.
So, say 3 years into it, we get a new board, and they like, this is the dumbest idea we've ever done. We want out of this. Is there a buyout? Is there a penalty for, and how is that measured?
Yes. So great question. There's no financial penalty. our goal is to quote, get out of the vehicles. But our goal is to earn your business and earn your partnership. So we're looking at earning your business and partnership every single year, year over year, 20 years down the road. But if in year 3 you come and say, again, it's the dumbest idea ever, then that's okay. You'll just buy out the remaining vehicles from us. We'll transfer title, and then you go on your way.
I think that was all my questions. And the fuel is based, is there a escalation factor in the fuel, or is it based off of current fuel prices or
So it
a
is.
year ago prices?
It is based on current fuel prices, but there are escalations in there as well year over year. There's a percentage.
Is there any de-escalations? Is this-
I would.
Eventually, it's going back to $1.50 a gallon, I feel sure, edging on that.
When there's an
I'm gonna knock.
Exactly. I don't either. That's all my question.
So really the goal then, I'm just to speak to moving forward. The idea is that after talking through this, we'll come back out. I'd like to set up some time to do what we like to call a fleet days meeting, because I want to meet with each department head to then spec out each vehicle that we're looking at of these first few years proposed vehicles, and put together, actual vehicles, when the order banks will open, when we can order them, things of that nature. So you've got really the numbers on each vehicle moving forward. So if and when, it moves forward to a vote, we can have everything ready to go.
Not trying to throw a wrench in it, but don't we have to go through the RFP process to do it right, or are we able to go?
So this, in terms of the purchase, you're going through Sourcewell,
Okay.
which is a purchasing cooperative, and there's an exemption in our purchasing ordinance for purchasing
Okay.
cooperative. So
All right.
I think we're clear
I
on that.
figured it would, but I was just trying to figure out how,
Yes.
all right. Make sure we
Jason.
do it right.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
I would think, in the meantime of coming back and talking to department heads and getting more information, I don't know if Levita's looked at it or not, but I'm sure I'd like her to look at it, make sure as far as the, when we're doing the auditing, as far as our assets, depreciation, all that kind of stuff, how do we view all that?
Okay,
Make sure it blends.
Yeah.
yeah.
But in theory, I do understand that I've always thought we get a better deal on vehicles buying them at state contract, and you can turn around and sell them for more than what we actually bought them for 2 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it has a revolving newer model vehicle for the staff. I can see it reducing costs, just make sure that,
Hop back over to that one slide. I just want to show one thing. So that actually, that's really what this, yes. So if you look, and we've adjusted this based on our conversation, because originally there were some vehicles that were looking at a 12-month cycle. But if we look, so a lot of those, you've got the SUVs, the Chevy Traverse, the half tons, the 3/4 tons. We've got all of those on 24-month cycles. Because we know that in 24 months, with the great buy that you're already getting today, we can cycle out of those vehicles and either break even, or depending on the vehicle, you might even get outlay back to your budget for that. So that's why there are different terms on there, because again, we want to take advantage of the great buy that you get today.
So you've got a different option for the sheriff's department, let them look at it?
So I do have a model put together for Justice Sheriff. I actually have a model for the entire county that incorporates this plus sheriff's vehicles. So if that's something that the sheriff would like to look at, then I would be happy to go over that with him.
Well, like I said, we'll let them know, see if they've got any interest in it, and we'll go from there.
one concern I have, Chairman, with the sheriff's department, I've looked at it and be able was, there's a lot of equipment that goes in a sheriff's car. And so the cost to install all that equipment, then pull it out and install it in a new one. Some might throw a kink in things like that. So
$1,700 to put it in, and it's $1,500 to take it out, so it's about $3,000 a car, right? Close to
and that's not including the equipment. That's just the labor cost to take it in and out.
$16,000 to put it
Didn't want to leave you out, though. Can't
But-
say I didn't let you,
but I
can't say
think
didn't
it's-
leave you out.
I think it'd be
in.
good
About
be good to let them look. I said there may be, some cars that are not, patrol cars or investigative cars or something like that. That might be interesting. So you talked a little bit about the EMS. So everything except for a big chassis fire truck.
Yes, so really anything under 26,000 pounds.
Yeah, your rescues, your chief.
So if we get 10 100-gallon trucks, Don,
Well, surely,
line them
we
all
do
up.
support vehicles for us, so
Absolutely. So we can do, your 3/4, any of the support vehicles other than the fire trucks themselves. Yep.
and is that including commercial grade fire truck? No fire trucks?
No, so if they're under 26,000 pounds, okay.
You have tire.
That's not really up our
Right.
wheelhouse, not
Yeah,
today.
I'm with you
Yeah.
though. I like this.
Where do we go from here? Meet with the department head and see what our needs are?
Yeah, so really the idea is if you approve to move forward to count, for vote, then I'd want to meet with them ahead of that meeting. So if you meet, let's say on the third Tuesday of, the month, so in a couple weeks, I definitely want to get together with them ahead of that meeting to have that put together. So that way when we come into that meeting, we have the exact numbers and figures with everything. And the exact vehicles spec'd out with the exact, things that you may need on the vehicles.
Mr. Norton, I know you got here a little bit later. If you had anything, anytime look at this information, you got any questions?
So, real quickly, the actual cost of the lease per vehicle is what's important to me. As long as that is under what we would pay state budget and maintenance-wise, then that makes sense, right? At the end of the day, that's the goal. And then, I'm the EV guy, so do you have access to EV vehicles? And what does that look like? So, if you do, provide those numbers as well.
We do. So we touched on that briefly earlier. So being that we're enterprise fleet management, we're not tied to just one manufacturer. We work with all the manufacturers. And the EV side of the house, hybrid EVs, are a newer space that counties and cities are looking at. But it's something that we can help navigate with you if as you want to bring those vehicles. So if there's something specifically that you're looking at, we can certainly put that together.
F-150s.
The Lightnings?
Of course.
We've done a few Lightnings for some,
I already got
for
mine
some
in
city.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You can't
good.
get it for yourself. You don't count.
I'm good. Yeah. So, because the majority of the vehicles that our departments use are F-150s or 250s. So,
Right.
When you double the range on the battery, you're at the towing capacity. So, I'm curious about those. So,
Have you looked at, or are you looking at putting, or do you have the charging stations or anything of that nature today?
nope.
Okay. Okay.
But the good thing about that, we have identified where we could place some charging stations around
Okay.
the county in that particular buildings to make it make sense for charging those vehicles overnight en route. The sheriff will be the most challenging part of that. But in general, Sam and I have been on a Clean Air Coalition committee where there's some participation grant money available for us to get EV stations in place. So,
Absolutely. We would definitely look at that for you.
okay.
Any more questions from the board? I like it, like I said, it's all right, we had that gentleman in the class with us, and he got to telling us what they were doing, and I was like, wow. So they were actually making money off there, right?
Yes, I mean it's wild. I'll just speak just an example because we just did this. But City of Roswell, for example, we just they ran a Ford F3 or a Ford F250 for 24 months. They paid, I think, around 31,000. We sold it for 43,000. We cut them a $12,000 check
I think I was from,
for that one vehicle.
He was north of us. I can't remember if it was DeKalb or Decatur or somewhere all that way.
that's what he was bragging about, so, you know, when they were selling the trucks cheaper than what they just had bought them for.
And keep in mind, today, those numbers are inflated, but once we get past, and I like to speak pre-COVID, even pre-COVID times, your government buying power has been really good. So we're able to do very similar things.
And maybe somebody asked this question, supply chain, do you have any challenges there?
We all do, unfortunately. That's not an enterprise thing because we don't build the cars. We just, buy direct from the manufacturer. But there are certainly delays. But really the idea is that instead of, what you're doing today, maybe reacting when you need a vehicle and trying to find one at a local dealer who probably doesn't have it, our goal is to proactively plan your future fleet needs 12, 24 months out so we don't get to that spot. And additionally, by lowering your cycle time from an average of 27 years to just under 3, those costs are going to lower anyways, and you shouldn't really have the maintenance issues that you're having today to where you need to find that vehicle rapidly unless it's a total loss or something of that nature.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any questions? Any more slides for us?
That was it.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, talked to one other gentleman this past weekend at the conference, and they were doing, they were looking at this, I think that, we're going to talk to y'all, that they were definitely going to look at the same, and because they were seeing the advantage of that over them purchasing their own vehicle. Any more questions?
I think we just put them on Jason now, right?
Yeah.
On you? No, you got nothing to do, right? We need, I guess you can let us know when we need to put it on the agenda. All right, sounds great to me. All right.
Well, thank you everybody for your time this evening. I appreciate you having us out to speak on behalf of Enterprise Fleet Management, and we look forward to coming back in a few weeks for the vote.
That sounds good. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I can get a motion.
Need a motion to adjourn, Chairman.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
And then take the time, take a break, and start.